Welcome back to the Scuttlebutt Club. Our guest today is a local Indy and NASCAR driver. He hosts the Speed Street podcast. He's also a reality TV star.
Like that.
He's an advocate for Type 1 and a fan favorite driver because he connects so well with them on his fantastic social media pages. Conor Daly, welcome to the Scuttlebutt Club.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Thanks for having me.
Yeah.
You have a good radio voice.
Yeah, you do.
Thank you. I've got a face for radio. That's what I've heard. Yeah.
Oh, stop.
But I'll take it.
All right, let's dive into first question. So we know that racing's not a popular youth sport. So how did you get into that? Like, is it a family thing?
Well, I mean, for me, my dad was a driver, so
Okay.
it was kind of the only thing that I knew growing up. And my mom worked at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, so I was
So it was
just
literally
always,
like in your DNA.
Yeah, that was it. And although it might not be like a youth sport, like you can do it at school, like go-kart racing is
Right.
actually like supremely popular across the country. And so, you know, we've got one of the best go-kart tracks in the world in Newcastle, Indiana. And so that was being built when I started when I was like 10 and 11. But I started at a track in Whiteland, Indiana, Whiteland Raceway Park, which now Sarah Fisher owns, actually, who's a former IndyCar driver. And so, yeah, I started quite early because our neighbor wanted to go-karting, and they asked my dad to go with them because he knew what he was doing.
Yeah.
And then I just kind of tagged along and then eventually got in the go-kart. And I guess my dad thought I seemed like I know what I was doing. Or they're part of the whole driving thing you kind of have to naturally get. Like you just kind of have to naturally understand where to go and what to do. And some people you can see they get in a go-kart and they're completely clueless, which is fine. Like it's not meant for everyone. But somehow I guess I knew what I was doing. And yeah, we kind of started from age 10, and then I missed tons of school as I went through my school career and eventually ended up here somehow.
Did you play other sports?
I tried to, yeah. I mean, because like it was fun in school to play the sports that your friends were
with
playing.
friends.
Like,
Yeah.
I played soccer. I played football. I played a year of football. I tried to play lacrosse. I played lacrosse in like the 8th grade. 8th grade was like the last. I was in the 8th grade golf club as well. We didn't have enough people for a team, so it was a club. But the like lacrosse thing, I realized that once you get like towards high school sports, like it gets more serious. Like
Yeah.
you got to do a lot of practicing and you got to be there for it. And like I had to like go do races and do things. And so 8th grade was about the last year that I could do any school sports. And then pretty much every year in high school, I was missing like 60 to 70 days a year of school, which is almost over half the
Yeah, I was
year.
going to say, how do they not kick you out?
Well,
you miss 8
thankfully,
days now,
it was a
they're
private
like,
school. Yeah, if it was a public school, I would not have.
goner.
I would not have been there. Yeah, yeah. So Heritage Christian School. Yeah, shout out them because they definitely were the only reason I was able to get like a diploma from anywhere.
so were you traveling doing that? Or was it just like a local travel?
Yeah, I mean, at first it was mainly local stuff, like when I was like 10, 11, 12, but you'd start to go to, Ohio and
Yeah.
Wisconsin and Illinois and, kind of around the Midwest. But then once we were kind of at the peak of go-karting, like there's actually like professional, like top level go-kart racing organizations, which are like, it's actually pretty impressive for what it sounds like. It sounds like it's like a fun time thing that you do at like a theme park, but it's actually like very competitive and like super impressive what they're doing with, with basically the entry level to professional motorsports. So we would then travel the country. Like we would race in California, we would race in, Nevada, you'd race in the East Coast, you race in Florida. So we were kind of traveling the country for sure, racing go-karts up until I was like 14. And then 15 was when I started to kind of transition to car racing.
Did your dad like coach you in all that?
Yeah, for sure. He was definitely a coach. An unintentional coach, but like it's what he knows how to do. So it was easy for him to instill, lessons into me. And I was being forced to read mechanical engineering books when I was 14. And I was like, I have to understand this if I really want to make it. And it was very hard as a kid. Like it's hard to have a tough dad on you, like, but he was right. Like all of what you're saying at the time, like it's hard. And
Yeah, but at that age, it's hard to hear, especially from your parents.
Well,
It's
we know
so
that.
hard.
Yeah. Our mom was our high school tennis coach, and
Okay,
it was
yeah,
just
yeah.
like, oh, God.
I mean, the funny thing is like we probably don't. There's not as much of an emotional relationship like with my dad nowadays. But like all of what he said was right. Like it's like
It always
he was
is.
completely
You
right.
just don't want to hear it.
Exactly. And like sadly, not sadly, like we have a great relationship now, but like it's very much like it was very hard growing up, like trying to be a professional athlete because it's like it's not an easy game for sure. But he was right; it was hard.
Do you have siblings?
Yeah, I have 3 younger brothers. Technically, one's a half brother, but yeah, me, Connor, Colin, Christian, Carter. So
would they
4
travel
Cs.
with you too, or how would that work?
No, so we would when we were racing in Newcastle, Indiana. My 2 younger brothers, Colin and Christian, they would go just because we were all going,
Right.
and they would do some racing. My dad bought them go-karts because like if I was doing it, like, well, why not let's all do it?
Yeah.
But they were there to just hang out with their friends and
Right. Ballpark
just
kids.
do it. I was there like studying and like doing the work, and they were just playing Xbox. And, like, all right, we got a race. Okay, cool. So like there's that level too. But then once it got very much more serious for me, it was really just me and my dad on the road for the most part. Throughout, like all of my youth years.
That's wild. Okay,
Yeah.
this is like a little bit different of a question, but
That's all right.
what was your first car? Like driving car?
Yeah, my first car was a Subaru WRX STI. So it's the tuner car crowd will know what that is, but I still have it. I would never sell it.
Seriously?
You
Oh, yeah,
do?
yeah.
Wait, what color is it?
It's blue. Yeah, it's
like bright blue or like navy blue?
very blue. Yeah, like
Like
yeah.
crayon
Royal?
blue?
Like
Royal blue?
that blue,
Oh, okay.
essentially. Yeah, it's blue. And but it was like, a fast car to have as a kid, and it was like a car that I was like, I really want.
I was gonna say, was that like your dream car to get at that time?
Yeah, I mean, essentially.
Yeah.
Yeah, I saved up all my money from my entire life I worked at Marsh. I worked at the grocery store. I worked at, Marsh is now gone.
I was gonna say,
but
rest in peace to
formerly-
Marsh.
Yeah, R.I.P. Marsh, but that was my first job. Saved any money that I ever made to try to buy this car, and I still have it. It's got like 150,000 miles on it. It's in my garage. It's currently not working.
Yeah, I was
but
gonna say, do you drive it ever? No.
I haven't driven it in 3 years, or
Okay.
4 years, because thankfully part of like being a full-time IndyCar driver is they give you like a company car, so like I don't need to drive it. But a lot of the years of my life when I was like unemployed and not employed, that was all I had. So
Yeah.
I put
Yeah.
so many miles on it, blew up an engine, and it's been through the ringer, but it still exists. And I love it. I would never sell it.
Like
I
if
love that.
something's wrong with it, do you know how to fix it?
To a certain extent. I'm definitely not a mechanic. Like
Okay.
I will openly admit what I am able to do and not able to do. And I would rather trust a professional than myself because I know it could go wrong when you're dealing with the mechanical side of things. I've seen the worst of the worst mechanical stuff. So you're like, maybe you just trust someone that knows what they're doing here. But like, I'm also I'll change my oils for sure.
Okay.
We'll do I literally just got a bunch of oil for it and a filter and a new battery for it yesterday because I've got to change all those things and get it running again. But I also have mechanics now that work on the race team that I drive for. So I'm like, well, you guys can help with this, right? And they're like,
Right,
yeah,
right.
for
Yeah.
sure. It's super
Yes.
easy
Phone a
because
friend.
to them it's like nothing.
Yeah.
And it's a nice communal activity. So, but don't expect me to rebuild an engine for anyone. I will not be doing that. Nor do I want to.
Yeah.
Not a problem.
Okay, if we like fast forward to like this year per se, and you wake up, it's race day. What is your routine like, or do you have any rituals? Can you kind of walk us through that?
I mean, for me, I've never overthought it enough to get into a ritual because for me, I don't really. I mean, every day is different, and racing, no matter and the track as well. No matter what track it is, something is different. The schedule, how you're going about your business, whatever the every race is a different start time too. So it's
Yeah.
not like you can every race is at noon. Like the Indy 500, thankfully, was always at 12:30. So we know that schedule is pretty set in stone. But every other weekend, could be 3:30, could be 4, could be a night race, it could be
Yeah.
something like that. So you kind of have to adjust. And there's nothing really that, if you're trying to think about doing one or two things like that, then you're losing focus on what you're like really supposed to do.
Yeah.
So again, some people that works, like they got to do this, that, and then that equals I can perform. But like for me, the only thing that I do is like I have to put my left shoe on first. I don't know why, but like I can't put my right shoe on first, and I can only get in the car from the left side. I can't get in from the right side. I don't know why. It just doesn't feel right. That's the only
Interesting.
thing. Yeah.
Like, what do you eat before a race?
It just depends. I mean, we've
On
got
the schedule?
Yeah, I mean, if we stick to a pretty like strict casual, like everything that I get during the race weekend is like a gluten-free pasta and chicken and vegetables. And then like, cause we have a chef or something. So the team has someone that cooks food for them. And so like driver meals every day, you get the same thing every day. And so it's easy to work with.
Yeah. That's nice.
And
so that you don't have to worry about
protein.
it.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Thankfully once we're at a race weekend, thankfully we're well taken care of, which is helpful.
Yeah.
So like, what's your schedule like during the year? Like, I know you said everything's kind of different, but like generally, like, what is your schedule like? Is there like the season that you're in, race season or off season? Like, what does that look like?
Yeah, I mean, we're kind of like baseball season. Like we start in the spring and finish, in the middle of September, October. My schedule has not really been the most consistent. Like I haven't been full time in IndyCar for a little bit, and so ideally, we're planning on being full time, this coming year, but it would start in February and end actually at the end of August now. So they're trying to shift our year to where we don't go up against football at all, television wise, which not everyone's in agreement with. I mean, it's great because like our TV partner is Fox, and so every race is on Fox, which is great. So they're like, even the NFL now on Fox is doing promotions for IndyCar and the Indy 500, which is huge for us. But NASCAR and Formula One continue to race like NASCAR just finished last week, and Formula One finishes still in like 2 weeks. So there's still way more of the year that they get talked about. So normally I think we should be racing from March till October, but our season is kind of a bit of an experimental. I don't know, experiential. It's kind of an experiment to shift to get everything done before September, which is fine. So yeah, it's really from this winter, it's all like a business time of year. Like we don't really get any practice. Like we don't get to do anything until like January or February.
So how many races on average are you racing?
So the full schedule is 17 races. And then a lot of drivers will have other random series that they'll do. There's like the 24 Hours of Daytona, which is like a 24-hour sports car race, is usually in February, which a lot of drivers do. Some guys will kind of really mix in some random stuff. Like I did 4 different series this year.
So like, do you pick or choose that, or does your team?
Yeah, not
like, how
necessarily.
Does that work?
It's a very complicated business, but like if you're not full time, like me, for example, last year, and it's very complicated, but like we only have enough sponsorship, which your drivers aren't necessarily getting chosen to do the racing events. Like thankfully for me, the Indy 500, it doesn't matter about sponsorship there. Like teams will be hiring me to do that race, which is great because I've done really well there. But everything else is actually the only determinant by how much money you can raise. So if we raised $2.5 million, which is essentially what we had for this year or last year, we could say, okay, we have the budget to do 3 NASCAR truck races, 1 NASCAR Xfinity race, and then like this, and we pick maybe tracks that I would be the best at because that's all you've got. It's all dependent on money. That's it. Like it's only cash dependent. Yeah. And it's not ideal. Like it's not always been like that, but it's kind of how it is at the moment.
Do the sponsors have a say in what races you do?
Sometimes, yeah. Like if they have a market that they want to be doing more business in, that they'll pick that. But yeah, it's sponsor first, then my preference. Yeah.
All right. We think that you do a really good job with your social media.
Thank you.
And connecting with your fans, your podcast also. How did you get started in all that? And then I guess like a kind of a follow-up question, has that really helped you with sponsors too?
I mean, I've always, I guess I just like having a good time and like being social and enjoying life. So like when Twitter first became Twitter, it's just fun to get on there. I don't know. It was like, and also when social media started to become a thing, people started to realize that like, well, you got to be on there. Like you have to do that. And it wasn't for a very long time though that it actually meant anything business wise, but now it's all a business. Like everything's a business. Every follower that you gain is like more traction for any type of partnership that you would do.
Right.
So
Do they ask you about that? Like some of your
for sure.
sponsors?
Yeah, sometimes. And certainly for more, like there are more people that want to do like, social media deals, which are obviously like lower level. Cause like we're trying to find millions of dollars of sponsorship,
Right.
But a company will easily spend 5, 10, 20, 30 grand on like a social campaign. You know what I mean? Cause it's way less for them. And it's actually interesting to talk to people about that. But yeah, I just enjoyed it. Like I enjoy social media. I think there's a lot of terrible things on there and like some of the worst human beings on the planet, but there's actually a lot of like great things too. And I find it very funny at times too. So it's something that has created like an extra stream of revenue, certainly for me with the podcast. And the podcast is something that I never really knew that I was going to get into, but I wanted to, and I just didn't know how. And then just when Joey Molinaro, actually, he's got a large following as well. He's from here. But Joey just asked me one day, like, "Oh, do you want to do a podcast?" I was like, "Yeah, that'd be cool."
Yeah.
And then and now I have another co-host, Chase Holden, who lives in Louisiana. We do it like purely remotely because like my producer's in South Bend, Indiana. I'm in Indianapolis. And my co-host is in Louisiana, and where we're owned out of is Charlotte, so it's kind of like.
And I'm sure you guys are traveling a lot.
Yeah,
especially
exactly.
You know.
But with technology, we're
Right,
able to do kind of whatever, and yeah, it's been fun. I enjoy interacting with people. I enjoy. I fire back at a lot of people, which is probably not a good idea, but it also drives engagement through the roof. So like I interact with more people than I should, but if you're going to come after me, like be prepared. Like I'm going to go after you too.
I love it.
Like it's only fair.
Well, I think too, like it helps people connect with you. Like it's hard, at least in my opinion, like you mainly see like a car and you have a helmet on and you don't really get to know like who is behind that car, who the driver is. So it's cool that you put yourself out there and people can connect with you on a different level.
No, I appreciate that. I mean, it's true. We have to get IndyCar is like kind of lacking like that star power. Like you need a bit of that star power to make people care more.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like they want to cheer.
Like we want to invest in it.
Yeah, like and you got to have like your guy or your girl, obviously. Like, and I think we're getting to a better place with that. But you see it more in NASCAR and Formula One. Like racing people will kind of understand like there's more of like a wow, that's like those are those guys, and we don't really have that as much because like we just are not at that level. Like the Indy 500 is. Like the Indy 500 is superstardom extraordinary. Like it's incredible.
Especially
like that feeling during
here,
the month.
It's like.
But that feeling of just all the people that you interact with and race day, like the crowds and like we can't even walk out of our garage or else we're attacked. And then we go to the next race and like you literally just walk anywhere you want. Nothing happens. So it's just we kind of have to narrow that gap.
Yeah.
Right.
And by hopefully people caring more about us and the personalities and who we are and how specialized what we are, like what we are doing is, then maybe it'll make a difference. Hopefully.
Yeah.
What is your training like outside of the car?
It's very, very aggressive and very difficult because like the physical side of racing is something that people always underestimate and they just don't know anything about.
I can't even imagine.
Because I can't tell you to go outside right now and like drive 220 miles an hour with no power steering in 150-degree heat, like strapped to a rocket ship. Like I can't do that because it's not possible. So like for us, like we train, most of us have personal trainers. Like I train every single day. 3 days a week in the gym, and then on the Tuesdays and Thursdays, do like cycling or running.
I was gonna say like heavy cardio.
It's a lot of. I mean, it's cardio. It's basically like triathletes that fight as well. Like because you have to be strong in your upper body, your core,
can
your
I
legs,
just
everything.
say something real quick about that? Who is? I swear I just saw this on Instagram. The F1 racer that did
Valtteri,
he did a full Ironman at
like
his
just
house.
At his house, yeah.
Like just like on a
he's
random
psycho,
day.
Yeah.
He goes, he's a psycho.
Like on a true form runner in his
Yeah.
Peloton and pool.
Yeah.
I mean, after the race, do you just
But that's it. Like Valtteri, he's like we used to race together when I was like 18, Valtteri and I, and he's like, but that's kind of what you have to be a psycho. Like to do what we do, like you have to be nuts.
Like after a race, do you just like go into a puddle? Like what?
You're dead. I mean, well, you lose like 10 pounds of water weight like during a race, so you're completely spent, every part of your body. It's not just like people like, oh, Mike, maybe it's just your arms. It's like, well, we don't have power steering, so it's everything in your arms, your core, your back, your legs. Even like the, what we press the brake pedal with is like 1600 psi of pressure, like 10,000
I'm like, how
times.
tense like do you have to be too? Just like the whole time being on.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
That
It's
too,
like
yeah. It's an insane physical exertion, and you can't possibly, like, we're getting more technology. Like, obviously, like I wear a Whoop wristband, that measures my heart rate in the car, which is like really cool. And people are slowly getting more and more ways. Like I wore up, a hydration sensor like during the race to like literally track the amount of fluid that I'm losing. And so now you actually get real data. Like a lot of people said it was kind of, like maybe you lose that much. It's like, no, like we actually like physically are losing, 56 ounces of water or whatever it is. And it's like, well, that all equates to like 8 to 9 pounds of water. And you're like, yeah, no, that's true. So it's a lot that goes into it, and it's so hot and it's so difficult. And I can go outside now and throw a football and shoot a basketball and know that I will not play in the NBA or the NFL, but like I can't tell you to go, drive a race car. So people won't really know unless they like just look at the data and like look at us after the race, because we look like we've been through a war.
Yeah.
And that's it. Yeah.
Wait, so like when do you get like water? Just like in the pit?
You don't really get any. I mean, you have a
nothing.
you have a
Like, you
drink
have a
bottle.
pat? Like
Yes,
a-
you have a drink bottle that's attached to your helmet.
Oh, okay.
But you can really only drink it when you're like, if there's like a caution. It's like if someone crashes and you're kind of
You're
going
not just like
slow behind
casually
the pace
sipping
car.
that, flying around the
You
track.
just can't. Yeah, there's too much force on your body, and it's boiling by lap 10 anyway, so it's not really like a refreshing beverage because it's just very hot.
And
Yeah.
do you have to pee?
No, because you sweat it all out.
Yeah, so it's
Yeah, that's the most frequently asked question. But when you're losing 50 ounces of water or 10 pounds worth of water, everything has gotten out of your body. So
Okay, I have so many questions based off this. Okay,
Yeah.
I know you're type 1.
Yeah.
I got type 1 diagnosis literally last year.
Oh
Tomorrow.
wow. Okay. Yeah.
So I'm new, but like I have so many questions.
Which is
about
rare
this.
too. Like it's not a
I'm one of the lucky ones.
Yeah. Well, same.
But like how are you like dealing with that like in a race?
I mean, I got diagnosed when I was 14, so I was young, and like I got it going through puberty, right? So like body's changing, shut it down, the pancreas, and so I mean, at the time we didn't really know much about it. There was no one else that was like diabetic athletes were not like a thing that we knew about, like or I knew about at least. But it didn't really affect me. Like they told me what I had to do. Okay, blood sugar. Okay, insulin, got it. Okay, we got to do this and like keep it in this range, do that, whatever. And it's always, every day is kind of a science experiment. Like you're always learning more, you know what I mean? And it's not like, it's the same struggles that you go through, like I do, like everyone does the same thing. It's just everyone's bodies are different too. So you have to figure out what works best for you as well. And so over the years, like, it's just been learning, figuring it out. Obviously there's way more technology now. I mean, using like the CGMs that we have access to.
Can you wear that while you're in the car?
CGM, yeah. I wear the CGM. I would never go a minute without it.
What one do you use?
The
Can I
Dexcom
ask?
G7. Yeah.
Me too.
Yeah, so that's a lifesaver. Once we started being able to track like blood sugar in the car, like while I was
who
racing.
tracks
yeah,
that
that's
for
what I was
you?
gonna ask too. Who's
I mean, it
watching
could be anyone, but it's really just me, because if someone's tracking it outside of the car, I mean, what can they do? Nothing.
So like, do you have snacks? Like if you go
Yeah,
low?
No.
You-
That's
you
my
definitely
question.
can't.
Like,
Yeah.
I'm nervous
But see,
for you.
so that's the thing. It's all about very strict preparation before the race, because the body is. It's very at least in my experience, everyone might be different, but if your regiment, like my regiment is obviously like, I don't wear a pump because you can't wear a pump in the car. It's too hot. Okay. And the amount of stuff that I'm trying to do training wise just wouldn't work. But with my regiment and what I do, there's nothing that is ever like a surprise. So
That's how I feel too.
Like what you put in must be reacted to.
Yes.
So it's not like all of a sudden you're like, well, I ate this cheeseburger. I have no idea why my blood sugar went really high. It's like, well, what you put in has to be like, you have to do the work for that. So, so for me, it's all about consistency and preparation. Like my team knows, I always want my blood sugar going a certain way down before the race, and then I have a Gatorade right at the car, and then
And I'm
just
sure you have
chug
an
the
adrenaline
Gatorade.
spike from that too.
Yeah, but the adrenaline, I think, cures all bodily problems. Like, I think that everything that the adrenaline does in your body, like a lot of guys, if they crash, like they'll get out of the car and like walk on a broken leg because you have so much adrenaline, and then you just fall and you realize, shoot, this is like really bad. But it's such a powerful thing that it's all about preparation for me. And like, the one thing that people always ask, like, well, how do you keep it stable during the race? It's like, I'm not worried about that. I'm worried about not dying, like doing other things. So if my blood sugar is 200, I don't care.
Right.
Like, it's literally the last of my worries.
Right.
Because if it's like that for an hour and a half, 2 hours, I don't care.
You
Like,
can deal with it after.
exactly. So it's not, doing that for 2 hours, it certainly doesn't seem to be a life-changing thing for me. But it's just all about preparation.
Yeah.
It's nothing during. Like, I have the drink bottle that I mentioned that has sugar in it, has Gatorade and water.
Okay.
So like
If an emergency-
that is the emergency. But like, in my entire career, like, I've never had that happen because it's just I won't allow it.
You know what
to
you're
happen.
doing.
Yeah.
Yes, right.
And if I made a mistake, then I would make it harder for other diabetic racing drivers, like in the future, to be allowed to do what we do.
Yeah.
So
Was that like a problem? Are there? Do you know other diabetics?
Yeah, like, I mean, at the first, so when I signed my first Formula One contract when I was like in like 2011, they told me not to say anything about it. Like, don't ever say anything about it. I'm like, okay, that's fine, because like no one really was doing it. And then Charlie Kimball, he's another Type 1 diabetic race car driver. He got diagnosed a little bit after me, but he was also trying to be a driver. But he actually did the smartest thing you could possibly do and sell it. He sold his diabetes to like Novo Nordisk, and Novo Nordisk sponsored him in the biggest possible way in IndyCar for like 7 or 8 years. And, they had the insulin pens on the car, and it was like a big deal. And but it was all this marketing, like, oh, the crew members would stab him with the thing if it got too high. And I'm like, that's not real, right? 'Cause I've been racing for a long time. I was like, that has to be like a marketing thing. And it is, because you have to have, like, the thing about like insurance and like companies, and like there's so much red tape. And so like, okay, you have to say that you can do that, but like, no one's actually going to do that.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
if you say that you can do that, like, of course, in the worst case scenario, that's the case. But if Charlie needs insulin in the middle of the race, you're in a real bad spot, because like that means you've been way off the map. So
Yeah.
it's something that I saw that happening while I had diabetes as well, and I was just kind of doing my thing. And I've never had like a partnership that's like, we've had like small here and there. Like, I had a deal with a certain company that's based in the center of Indianapolis, a red one that I won't name because I don't like them, but they were a small partner on our car at one point. And then another company that I worked with over the last couple of years, they actually make the insulin that I use now. Like, we've done small things here and there, but never really like a major partnership. Like Charlie's deal was huge. And like, to be fair, he did a lot of great stuff with it.
Yeah.
I was just jealous.
So would you want to do that?
Yeah.
I mean, if
for
it came
sure-
up.
for sure. I would sell my
Because I know
soul
some
for
people
that.
with
Yeah.
diabetes are like, that. I don't want to talk about it. That's not my biggest personality trait. You know what I mean? But it's like, I feel like it's important to be like an advocate for people.
I mean, I don't really see myself as any different. Like, the thing, like,
Right.
I guess it's hard mentally, I think, for people to deal with that type of thing. Like, obviously, I mean, you understand it, but like, I've never ever not been able to do something that I've wanted to do.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I mean, why would you ever let it stop you from doing anything?
I think
So
when I got diagnosed, I saw it as like almost like mourning before, because I mean, I was 35 when I got diagnosed.
Yeah.
So it was like,
Which is wild.
that's
Yeah.
crazy. Like
Yeah.
I'm like, God, I wish I would have had it when I was a kid. Then I would be so good at it and like all this
Yeah.
stuff. But at the same time, I feel like it's nice to see like I found so many athletes and stuff like that, because I'm like, oh, I'm never going to be able to work out again. And all these things
Yeah.
I'm not going to be able to do. And it's like, okay, calm down. Like, you're being
Yeah.
so dramatic. But like, just seeing like you do whatever you want.
It's,
Figure it out.
I mean, it's hard.
Right.
Like
Yeah.
it's not easy. That's for sure. Like,
But you can still do
It's
what
like
you
it
Yeah.
just
want
like
to do.
adds another element to your job.
That's
Well,
what I
not
tell
only-
my
yeah.
friends, because my
And,
friends don't get it. And I'm like, it's almost like I have another baby.
there you go.
Like,
yeah.
I have to take care of this other
Yeah.
baby too.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And like, I think I don't like it because I feel like I have to ask for help a lot, or like, I can't do that right now because I have to do that. You know what I mean? There's
Yeah.
like, you have to manage it. And I think I feel guilty because of that. Of
Oh,
like,
yeah. I mean, there are
taking
many
up other
situations,
people's
yeah.
time or whatever. But at the end of the day, like no one cares. They're like, yeah, do what you need to do. You know what I mean?
Yeah, like there are many situations like where I tell my girlfriend, like, I'm sorry, I'm going low right now. Like I can't really communicate correctly at the moment. But like, it's not like I feel bad and I hate it because it's like, this is stupid. But you can't control that. Right. So I think a lot of people struggle with it because not a lot of people like to work really hard these days too. Like, and I'm sorry, but it's hard. Like, but it doesn't stop you from doing anything.
It's hard to be managing it well.
Oh, for sure. No, it
you
is.
can be bad. You could be live your life.
Yeah, like that's the thing. Like I knew another girl as well. Like a few years ago, she was diagnosed at like 22, like which is a little bit later than normal, and she hated it. And I was like, you have to do. You
gotta embrace it.
And she's like, nope. And I'm like, what? Like I don't know how you do that. And now she's gotten better at it, but. It's something that, and I went to high school with someone else who also had type 1. And again, again, not a great example, like going to the nurse's office, like, blood sugar, all of them. I'm like, I don't understand that because I was told that blood sugars had to be here. And why is yours at like 800? Like that's not, I feel like that's not good.
Yeah. But I feel like that's also your mentality.
No, it's true. And it's hard.
Like you have to be mentally
it's not the same for everyone, and that's why.
And do you think like if they get diagnosed when they're younger, like their parents playing a big role in like that mentality? Like I always think like, gosh, what if like some poor kid gets diagnosed and they have like a shitty family or parents that don't help? And
that's hard.
You know what I mean?
Because it does affect your mood, like you said. It does affect. Like the other night, I was yelling at my husband. I'm like, I'm not yelling at you because I'm mad. My blood sugar's high. It's not me. It's this.
Yeah.
He's like,
for
okay.
me, it's like if my blood sugar goes low, like I can't. Like it's confusion. I can't say anything. I'm like, I know what I want to say, but I can't say it. And it's just, and then it's stupid. But it's like it's part of it. So like I always tell people, and like I would do more. I've done a few random things here and there with like JDRF and stuff like that. But what I always try to tell people is like, look, I know that it seems like I might not have the same struggles as you, but like I really do. It's just, it's in your head, so much of it. And like, you can do it. And there's parts of life that are very annoying for sure. Like I agree, but it's so much about how you manage it and how you take care of it and how you take care of yourself. And it's a wild disease to be a part of, but it's also something that, again, like I've done everything in my life that I've ever really wanted to do. And like some of the craziest stuff ever, and like doesn't stop. You know what I mean? It's not over.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, we answered like 6 questions and all of that.
Yeah.
Because we were going to talk about your devices. So no pump. MDI.
Yeah, so I use the G7, and honestly, Dexcom, they actually, like, they're not really a sponsor of mine, but they've always helped me out. Like we've done random work together before, and like thankfully, like they send me G7s, which is very, very helpful. Like I'm very lucky to get that because I know it's very expensive and tough to get covered by insurance, but. Other than that, I've been on like the Tresiba off-brand, like as my like background insulin. You know, the one that I take at night. I take 1 shot at night, and then I use inhalable insulin.
I was gonna ask you when you pointed to your pocket. I'm like, is it Afrezza?
Yeah, Afrezza. Yeah, so that's been.
Did you just start that?
No, I've been on it since 2018.
Oh wow, that's a long time.
Long time.
Do you like it?
It's great. Yeah, I mean, it eliminated almost all the shots. Obviously, I had to take 1 shot at night, which is easy, but it's the amount, how quick it works is so good, and like obviously there's no pain. You're just inhaling. Right. And
everyone think you're like hitting a vape or something.
Yeah, it always looks like you're vaping. Yeah, but it's I think it's the best thing that's like, it's the best thing that diabetics don't know about. Because so many people don't know about it. And it's not like big pharma. So it's not like, it's not promoted by all the insurance companies because it's not a Lilly product or a Novo product. And like all those companies pay the insurance companies to make sure that they select their drug. I mean, it's a big scam in general, which I could get into, but I don't want to.
We love to talk about stuff.
It's just, but it obviously makes sense, but I think more doctors are understanding, and like my A1C is 5.9, so I feel like I've been doing quite well with it, and nothing is nothing is wrong. And so the biggest thing for Afrezza, I think, will be to get the pediatric trials completed, which I think is really cool. Because I think for kids, if you told them they didn't have to do shots and you could just do a quick inhaler, I think that would be the greatest thing ever. So
see, maybe they need to get you on their team.
I'm working on it now. We're certainly working. You might see that at some point, but we're working on it. The CEO is actually a really good friend of mine. Like, couldn't be a nicer guy. Yeah.
Wait, is it based out of here?
No, they're in California. But he's a big race fan. Couldn't be a nicer guy. He's brought the company, like the company itself, Mankind Corporation is who they are. Like they kind of went really into a rut, and then they hired him as CEO, and they're like, their stock price was at like $1, and now it's like well above $7, and he's been this great ride, and they've made a bunch of other drugs for other diseases as well that are like all their patent on this inhaler, this inhalable technology is actually like really fascinating. And so I've just been paying attention because I enjoy what they're doing. And the Afrezza has been great. And I think, again, if you're a diabetic that's listening to this, like, ask your doctor about it for sure.
You should do that.
I know, I've thought about it.
She just got a pump 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
And
I mean, the pumps are great.
not
And now,
into it.
like, what the pumps can do, though, with, like, the CGMs,
for
sure, it's cool.
If your CGM is working properly.
If it's working properly. Yeah, of course. Yeah.
It's always a struggle.
Yeah.
Okay, if this is kind of related, but what piece of advice would you give to someone newly diagnosed? I feel like I already know your answer.
Yeah.
Well, no, I mean, honestly, like, listen to people smarter than you, which is doctors,
Wait,
right? Like,
listen, do you know the Juice Box podcast? Do you know about
no,
that?
I've heard of it.
I feel like you should be on that.
Okay.
It's
all
like
right.
very big.
Okay. I would do it, I think.
I'm going to send you a little thing because they're always looking for new people to get on there. So I'm like a big Peloton person.
Okay,
And so Robin has type 1 on Peloton.
Yeah.
She was on it. But I think it's interesting to hear from people like that that are doing things extreme in their life and they're fine.
For sure, yeah. I mean, I would love to, yeah. I think what I would tell people is that, like, there's a scientifically encouraged way to do everything, right? Like, you have to do this, your blood sugar needs to be here. But, like, it's also, like, you're also still living your life. So it's not always going to be perfect. But you just, like, you have a number that you need to aim for. And so always aim for that number. And you're going to miss it all the time. But, like, you have other tools to make sure that you get back to there. If it's going too high, well, guess what? You've probably got insulin. If it's going too low, well, guess what? You probably got something else around, you know, or always have something else around. So I think it's going to be understand your body and don't be afraid to, like, even if it's not the exact doctor prescribed, like, you must do this, must do that. Technically they're correct, but you're also still your own person. And if you're smart enough to understand, well, this is actually helping me keep my numbers in this range of where you need to be, because there is a range. And that's all you got to do is always aim for that, and just don't die on the way there. You know what I mean? So
super casual.
Yeah.
You sound like me. I'm like, I just go to my doctor to get a prescription and then I leave.
Yeah, I mean,
because they don't
say anything else. Like, they're not fixing it. So
no.
yeah. I mean, it's and it's hard. Like, know that it is hard.
Yeah.
Like, it's not getting easier. Like, the technology's for sure made it easier. Like, that's really nice. And there's less stabbings and all kinds of stuff like that. But it's always going to be hard. So don't think that, like, it has to be only me, like, that's struggling like this. Like, hey, no, a lot of people are, but, like, you can do it because a lot of other people are doing it too. And so I just encourage people, like, it's just like, hey, don't let it stop you from doing anything.
Yeah.
Well, you're a good example of that.
I hope so. Thank you.
Yeah.
I'd like to think so.
Yeah. All right, we're gonna pivot.
And don't drink Red Bulls. Yeah.
I'm done. I was dying. I was dying on your show when you were getting in your RV and you had, like, Fruity Pebbles or something. I'm like, there's no way he's eating that. Is he eating that? Are
Lucky
we
Charms.
eating that?
Yeah,
was it Lucky Charms?
Yeah. It's my lucky
I'm
cereal
like,
in the morning.
cereal is so hard to dose for.
Oh,
What is
so
he
good.
doing? He doesn't care. Living his life.
It's only the month of May, though. That's the thing. Because,
okay.
like, every day we practice, we're basically in the car for like 6 hours. So you burn so much calories.
So you
and so
can
much
just
that
eat whatever you want.
And, like,
that's nice.
The working out and putting your body through that type of stuff is its own insulin. So it kind of helps. It helps deal with a lot
That's
of that.
true.
Yeah.
Get yourself physically fit because that also helps with
Fitness is
controlling
solves
numbers.
a lot of problems.
Yes.
oddly enough.
Yes.
Being physically active, sure enough. Who would have thought?
Dang it. They're always
Who would have
right.
thought taking care of your body, like, is
Would be the
helpful?
answer.
It's literally the easiest thing ever. I mean, it's hard. Again, it's hard to do
Choose your
things
heart.
right.
Choose your heart.
Yeah.
Life is not easy, but it can be, I guess.
All right.
You don't want to do anything.
Yeah. All right. We're going to pivot a little bit to kind of wrap up here, but we were wondering what your plans are for the off season. Like, do we have any reality shows coming up?
Oh, I hope not.
Do you love that we keep calling you that? Reality star?
I mean, a lot of people do, so it's fine.
How does that
funny.
feel? Do you just laugh?
I mean, I've done some weird stuff in my life. Yeah, I gotta. Someone sent me a video yesterday. They were at a tire shop, and my episode of Celebrity Family Feud was on it.
Oh my
tire
God.
shop.
Stop, you were
tire
on
rack.
that?
Yeah.
That is hilarious.
This is 2016, and we're just reruns. King of reruns, apparently. But it's funny. Like, I've definitely, I've been lucky to do a lot of weird stuff in life.
Yeah,
and
that's cool.
Do you just like say yes to everything? I feel like
Absolutely,
you're
yeah.
just like,
Yeah.
yeah,
Definitely
let's
say
do
yes.
it.
Yeah.
I
would
love
say yes
that.
to any type of television show. I've been in talks with a lot of different TV shows randomly, but not all of them have worked out.
What would be like your ideal one to be on?
I mean, I'm done now. Like,
You are?
Oh, for sure.
No.
I'm too focused on regular life. But the Amazing Race, like when that happened, it was like the perfect timing. Everything it was like the perfect timing in IndyCar where they were switching cars. No one was doing anything. Like, literally no one was doing anything for the whole winter. And so Alex and I left for a month, and we did the show.
That's so cool.
And it was like, it was that was actually, looking back on it, very hard to do.
Was it?
But like, it was so fun, and it's really cool to look back on. And we got to do a lot of really wild stuff. But I don't know what else I would do. I can't really think of anything that like really excites me. I don't really watch as many like reality TV shows
Yeah,
anymore. Like, I
same.
used to watch The Amazing Race every night before
Right.
before school. You know what I mean? Like the next day. And so that was the only show that I really watched aggressively. Like,
Yeah.
but it was a CBS show, so like they asked me right afterwards, like, "Well, do you want to do Survivor?" I'm like, "No."
That's what I was going to say.
absolutely not."
Survivor?
I was like,
No,
"Heck
pass.
And they're like, "What about Big Brother?" I said, "Nope, I do not want to do that either."
So what are you going to do this off season? Podcast?
I mean,
still?
yeah, I mean the podcast now, with the Apple, the way Apple works, you can't go more than 2 weeks without doing a show because it drops you out of people's subscribe list. I don't know if you knew that, but
We didn't know that.
don't go more than 2 weeks.
Oh, what if we take a break, a season break? You got to deal with
it's
it.
tough.
Deal
Yeah,
with your
so
consequences.
They always
Reruns.
change the algorithms. So like,
Flashbacks.
we've just kind of discovered this too because we were planning on having a season like taking the winter off.
Yeah,
and
that's
then-
what we were like,
but-
holidays.
yeah, but now like the head folks at like Dirty Mo Media who own our show, they're like, yeah, so that actually doesn't work anymore. I'm
That's
like,
not gonna
all right,
work for
that's
us.
fine. Because I don't mind. It's just there's
Yeah.
not as much going on for us.
Yeah.
But honestly, for me, the off season is really focused on just the business side. Like, I don't have a ride for next year and anything yet, so like I have to secure the sponsorship and and work on raising nothing less than $6 million to go racing next year, which is insanely hard. And we might not, but we might.
You will.
So Mankind is definitely the top. On the top of our list right now. Hopefully we can know, honestly, by Friday if they'll be involved or not. But yeah, we just have to work on partnerships. Like, I spent 4 hours on the phone yesterday. Like, I mean, it's all me just in my office. Like, it's the entire day is like waiting for people to respond to emails and then sending them out and then trying to call people on the phone. And then it's just really random. Like, our lives in the off season are just like, it's kind of ridiculous.
Like hodgepodge.
You could just do nothing for an entire day. Like, every day is the gym in the morning.
Yeah.
So like that's kind of the routine. But other than that, like if nothing's going on, like you don't have like
Do you
don't
like
have a
that,
job.
or is that like unsettling for you?
I have to be busy all the time.
Okay.
Like I have
I
to
feel
so
like,
I'll do
yeah,
something
talking to
around my
you,
house
yeah.
or I'll do something on my computer or like now with social media, like you could just do something to maybe create revenue or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So like you just have to do it. So I try to stay busy as much as I can, but also enjoy the off time.
Talk to us about this F1 Vegas broadcasting
Oh yeah.
situation. Is that something you're like interested in doing more?
No, I mean,
broadcasting?
I just I've done commentary a
okay.
little bit before in my life. Like with there's this racing series called SRX, the Superstar Racing Series. I did that commentary on ESPN, which was really cool, and I got to commentate on ESPN, which I thought was crazy.
Yeah,
That's awesome.
And I enjoy talking about racing, so it's easy. And then the F1 race next weekend in Vegas, it was their first year last year, and they for some reason asked me to be a part of the commentary team. I have no
Don't
idea
say
why.
for some reason.
I don't really
Yeah.
understand why. But it went well, and so obviously going back for a year or two. So that keeps us busy. That's
fun.
kind of an off-season activity that helps pay the bills. So yeah, that'll be fun.
Do you like
Bit of a week.
Vegas? Are you a Vegas,
I actually
Vegas
don't
guy?
mind it. I don't mind it. Yeah, I've spent a
Do
lot
you
of.
gamble?
I've spent
Are
a
you
lot
allowed
of
to
time
talk
there.
about that?
Huh?
I said, do you gamble? Are you allowed to talk
Oh
about
yeah,
that?
no, love gambling. Think
What
it's
do you
very
like to
funny.
play?
It just depends on the day. Like you just go with $100, and if you're happy to lose that, then you're done.
Yeah.
That's kind of like
You guys
my
like a
method.
go-to table?
No, it's like blackjack's fun.
Okay.
Yeah.
But like if you got the boys together and someone's throwing dice
Yeah,
at the
craps is
craps
so
table,
fun.
great time.
Yeah.
That's a lot of energy at the craps
Yeah,
table.
yeah.
You know what I
Yes.
mean? So you just have to go into it with the right mindset because it could be terrible,
Right.
but you could make it not terrible. You could just have a nice
And I like
time.
your $100 thing because
Yeah.
it's like I'd pay $100 for entertainment for an hour if it
Exactly.
lasts that long or whatever,
Yeah.
you know.
$100, $200, like if like
Or
you
a
know,
time, like a hard out. Like we have to be out of here at this time. We can't.
unless
put
you're on a
more.
run.
This is a segment for our husbands. So
Yeah.
listen up, okay?
Yeah.
Set your boundaries before you walk in.
But it's actually like I don't mind. There's so much racing in Vegas that like I've been there. My dad used to own a racing school in Las Vegas,
He
like
did?
literally
No way.
in Vegas. So like people thought we lived in Vegas.
You should have
for a
brought your
long
dad
time.
to this podcast.
He's good. He's a good speaker. Yeah. But yeah, so people actually thought we lived in Vegas for a long time, which we never did. We were always here. But
Yeah.
we
You're
would go
like
out there all the
Vegas
time.
rats.
And I like a lot of great food out there. Like,
Yes, good
even
food
one of the
in the
IndyCar
city.
drivers, Colton Herta, the other driver, he just moved out to Vegas. So like I'm gonna go see him before I go do my commentating activities. And yeah, it's good weather. It's not a bad good tax laws. Like so it's not a terrible place, honestly.
Yeah.
Unless you
Have a problem.
no ability to control yourself. Yeah. Then
Correct.
it's bad.
You want to ask him the last
Yeah.
question?
All right. This is a question that we end with that we ask all our guests that we have
Okay.
on. Okay. So if you had friends or family coming to town to visit you here in the Indy area, where would you take them? Where are you guys eating? What are you doing?
Well, I live downtown now in Indianapolis, so like I'm basically, everything is there, so you don't really have to
Yeah.
go very far, and it's it's not far from the airport. But obviously, the north side of town has grown so much, and like even Noblesville, this is where I grew up. I don't even recognize it anymore with how much has come here, and it's really cool. But like downtown, like if you're just speaking downtown. There's a lot of places that I would choose. My favorite restaurant of all. Why am I blanking on the name all of a sudden?
Describe it.
What
We might
kind
be able
of
to
food
help
is
you.
it?
No, it's on College downtown. Like it's not really Mexican food, but it's
we
livery.
know.
Sorry, livery.
Okay, I'm like, we
Livery's
just
my
talked about
favorite
this.
restaurant
Yeah,
ever. Yeah.
There's one up
just
here.
talked
in
about
Yeah, there's
Noblesville.
one up here on the north side now
Yeah.
too. Yeah.
What's your go-to there?
I just love everything there.
Everything,
I mean,
yeah.
the Red Drum is my favorite of all time. I love fish. That's my favorite restaurant. But like Vicino downtown, Italian spot's really good. My buddy Chris owns that place, and that's always good. But right now, like Bodie is one of my favorite
We just
places.
went
Yeah.
a couple months ago.
It's very hard to get into that.
It
place.
We waited
is.
forever.
I've
Well, when we went, it
waited
was
off
raining.
probably 4 hours at one point
Yeah.
to get in there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, we went when it was raining,
So
so
the
the patio
patio
was
was
closed.
closed. So
We're
it was
like,
even
this is
longer.
a nightmare.
It's a nightmare, but the food is so
It's
good.
so
and the
good.
drinks are good too.
Yeah. Yeah, they've got a lot of good stuff there. So, I mean, downtown Indy, and Indy's a big convention city, so there's a ton of people that come in and out.
Yeah.
Great food downtown. Like, there really is a lot of great restaurants.
Yeah.
I think that it's highly underrated as like a food city.
Yeah.
Like, it's good.
Yeah, for
But yeah,
sure.
Carmel, I don't really adventure much to the north side anymore, sadly.
It's outside of your bubble.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
It's
okay.
too far.
It's understandable.
Yeah.
Even though it is like really nice up here, I completely give it credit. Like, it's very nice.
It's okay. I feel like downtown's more fun.
Yeah, it's a little bit
more
sketchier.
lively.
Yeah, but this is it's like a nice time.
Yeah, but,
up
like, you
this
don't have
road.
kids,
Yeah.
like-
That's true. Yeah,
Yeah. Do
Live
you
your
go
life.
Do you go to
Yeah.
Pacer games, Colts games,
Yeah, like
stuff like that?
Definitely lucky because like the Indianapolis Motor Speedway has a suite with the Colts games,
Oh,
and
that's
they've
good.
got tickets to the Pacers. So I've been very lucky to kind of get those every now and then. And I love sports, so anything like that I will always go to. Love sports.
Yeah, same.
Awesome. Well, thank you
right.
for being here.
Yeah, thank
no
you.
problem.
Thanks
No
for
problem.
taking the time.
Okay.
No worries. I appreciate it. Good luck
right.
with the podcasting.
Oh, thank
Thank
you.
you.
You too. We're
Thank
going to get
you.
you that
Thank you.
sponsor too. You're at Frezza.
We're gonna work on it. Yeah, we're gonna work
I'm
on
going
it.
to send him an email after this, a cold call.
Send them a nicely worded letter. Yeah.
All right. See you next Tuesday.